I'm not going to comment on what
The National Broadband Network.
Whose side are you on?
G'day and welcome to The Great Divide, a new program to raise the voice of regional Australia in the national debate. We think people in the bush are sick of the spin of big city politics. They're looking for authenticity in their politicians and crave some good old-fashioned common sense when it comes to solving Australia's problems. In our first show, some of the most plain-speaking MPs in federal politics. Barnaby Joyce, the Shadow Minister for Regional Development and National Party heavyweight, who's planning to move from the Senate to the House of Reps at the next election. Bob Katter, the cat in the hat who keeps coming back, another Queenslander who's fielding candidates of his own next year for Katter's Australian Party. Anthony Albanese, the Minister for Infrastructure and Transport, who's Leader of the House and Labor's chief head kicker in the Parliament. And keeping him and Julia Gillard in office, Tony Windsor, one of the independents who threw his lot in with Labor 2 years ago and is either brave or mad, depending on who you talk to. Welcome, all of you. I was warned that herding you blokes might be a bit like herding cats, so let's not have too much scratching, if that's OK. Tony Windsor, you put Labor in there 2 years ago. You're keeping them there. What do you think the voters of New England are going to do to you next year for making that choice?
Well, we'll find out, and they're quite entitled to do what they want, and I'll receive that punishment, if in fact it is punishment, or that praise, if in fact it is praise.
Bob Katter, do you think that Tony has let this show go on too long?
This idea of going conservative or not conservative, just forget about that. If you're in the bush and you're going to be loyal to the Conservative cause, you are doomed. You are doomed.
You sleep soundly at night.
Oh, very much so.
Anthony Albanese, can I ask you this? How important has Tony been, not only in keeping you in government, but in supporting your policies like the carbon tax?
Tony has been an important player in the federal parliament since he was there. And we treated the independents with respect. Meanwhile, the other side of politics basically treated them pretty shabbily when they were in government, both in policy terms, but also in terms of just the day-to-day nonsense that they put up with in the Parliament, not giving them a fair go. I present the same target.
The reality is that, of course, it comes in on the 1st of July and the bills are still yet to turn up. And where they are turning up, it's been quite decisive in driving up the price of power. And what are we doing it for? You can't change the temperature of the climate. You can't change the temperature of the globe. What on earth are you doing this for? Why are you taxing people, making them poorer for something you can't possibly change?
Upon a time, there was a politician that did stand up for us and did make a stand for us and delivered to us.
We're going to take a break. It's time for a break and a change of pace. When we come back, how the next election is shaping up in the bush and how these blokes are preparing for the fight of their lives. Welcome back. And of course, many people think the next election could be the most bitterly fought since the epic contest between Gough Whitlam and Malcolm Fraser 37 years ago. We're here with Anthony Albanese, Barnaby Joyce, Bob Katter and Tony Windsor. Anthony Albanese, you voted for Kevin Rudd in the leadership ballot last time in the caucus. Will he be back again if the polls continue to be bad for you?
No, Julia Gillard will lead us to the next election. It was very clear that in February, caucus had to make a choice. Caucus did that, and Julia Gillard, I think, has shown her fighting qualities. She gave last week an extraordinary press conference where she took on all comers and came through it.
Yeah. Right? I think it was a dreadful mistake, right? And a lot of people would say it was an extremist advertisement. If you like, right-wing extremist.
Can you explain?
Please let me finish, Graham.
Explain to those who are
Well, either you're going to let me finish a sentence or you're not. But I'm not going to stay in the program if I can't complete a sentence.
You're doing most of the talking.
Now, the person that opposed that advertisement was a man called Max Menzel. He resigned from the party. He was so angry over it. He was completely opposed to that, right? Well, Roll Walton, and God bless Roll, I love Roll. I spoke to him, I tried speaking to him this week, and I'll speak to him again next week about other things.
Look, we've got to go to a break. So much for the political manoeuvring. After the break, the big issues that will decide how regional Australia votes in 2013. Don't go away. Welcome back. We're here with Anthony Albanese, Barnaby Joyce, Bob Katter and Tony Windsor, who know that many of the burning political issues in regional Australia are the same as those in the big cities. The carbon tax, the mining tax, border protection and interest rates, to name just a few. But in the bush there are others: foreign ownership, rural debt, water allocation, the railways and so on, all of which we'll be covering on the program in the coming months. Now, you blokes have got your fingers on the pulse every day. What's the mood out there? Bob Katter?
Rural debt is colossal. And in Western New South Wales, the Murray-Darling is going to destroy Western New South Wales.
All right, Barnaby, you've got your finger on your pulse out there?
Yeah, well, if you want it in a block, when green policies start overtaking the rights of individuals, when people start losing their rights to ownership, tree clearing laws, issues pertaining to fishing, issues pertaining to a right to stay on the property, debt's an issue, but they also want, a vision. They want you to be saying, how's the world going to be a different place after you guys are there? Are you going to build the inland rail? Are you going to help develop new areas? Are you going to be about fair dinkum, about trying to move people into the new corners of our nation?
But are they angry? Are they as angry as they were at a public meeting I was at recently in the River Arena, where people were beside themselves with rage?
Well, if you think, and it knocks the insiders off.
And of course, because you've all been so terrific, we've run out of time. Just one final question. Whatever you guys say, and you in particular, Tony Windsor, you always have your eyes on the polls. Now, in the last news poll, we saw a slight rise for the Prime Minister, didn't we? Next Tuesday, there's another news poll. What do you think we're going to see there?
Well, I think that when the Labor Party, especially the Labor left, start taking on John Howard's positions on border control, and he rolled over on it because he's a lefty who can't stand up for himself, well, of course, he's going to get a bounce in the polls.
Anthony?
Don't care. Doesn't matter what Tuesday's poll says. What matters is what happens in 2013. I say the same thing, whether polls go up or down a couple of points. It doesn't matter at all. What matters is good policies. It does matter whether we win the next election. That poll matters. I'm focused on that, but I'm also focused on good government. That's all we have time for this week. Hats off to Anthony Albanese, Barnaby Joyce, Bob Katter and Tony Windsor. I'll be back at the same time next Sunday. Till then, when we meet again across the Great Divide, from all of us, have a great week.